All right. Welcome, everyone, to a conversation between myself, Jordan Genso. I am a Democratic candidate for state Senate here in Michigan, and I am sitting down today with a friend of mine, Paul Gipson. He is currently a Brighton City Council member, and him and I, we met last year actually running for Brighton City Council, and he has agreed to sit down with me to have a conversation just about politics, and I've given him an opportunity to basically ask me whatever questions he's ever wanted to ask a candidate for office. And so I wanted first to give him the chance to introduce himself and his background a little bit.
All right. First of all, thanks for having me here. Happy to be here. Not much of a background. I'm on Brighton City Council. We did meet last year. We both ran. Spent 2 days outside the polls. One of them very cold, and I thought we had pretty good conversations. We didn't agree on everything. Agreed on some things, and I actually I thought it was important and a great step, especially in this climate right now where people are a little more adversarial. To actually be able to hear someone's thought process, and you have a very good thought process for a lot of issues. So I'm interested in hearing a little bit more about them tonight.
Yeah, and I will disclose up front, you and John Emis are my two favorite members of Brighton City Council, the two that I like. And but I also know that we typically, I lean left, and my impression was always that you leaned a little bit more right. But when it came to city council stuff, that's nonpartisan, and we were able to have those worthwhile discussions last year. But this year with me running for a partisan position, it's like, okay, yeah, let's give you the chance to, just ask me whatever you'd be interested in discussing. What sorts of topics do you want to hear state legislative candidates discuss when they're out there campaigning? So that way that gives you a better understanding as to whether or not to vote for them or, somebody else on the ballot.
Yeah, and you're right. And just so people understand my perspective, first of all, most of this conversation is relatively unscripted. One is because I didn't do anything for it. Two is I've found our conversations to be better when they are unscripted.
Yeah.
I do have positions on both sides, probably more on the right than the left. That being said, my general philosophy, so people just understand where I come from with my questions. And sometimes I think you told me to play the devil's advocate.
Yeah.
So I may be advancing a position I may not necessarily agree with, but I'll let people know if that's what I'm doing.
Yeah.
I believe in government. The term is subsidiarity, in the sense that society shouldn't take. If an individual can do something themselves, society shouldn't be doing it for them. And if a small society can do something by itself, a large society shouldn't be doing it for them. I also believe that society, the foundation is the family. I don't particularly care how your family's set up, but I do think that family units should have the most amount of independence and autonomy.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I'm open to having my opinion changed in just about anything.
Yeah. I got to say, that's I've never actually heard a political philosophy described that way. Subsidiary, you said it was?
Subsidiarity.
Subsidiarity, okay.
Yeah. So, and I have that, and I do also believe in a lot of the core things that I believe in have to do with the concept of human dignity, things that form the basis of equality, things like that. And also that we're all not perfect. And society, specifically government, should be set up in a way where we can all grow in virtue. And so you take away unnecessary hardships so people can actually grow.
Yeah.
No one's perfect. We're not going to be perfect tonight.
Yeah.
I've
never been before.
Yeah,
so.
I've already said things I regret saying. So that's pretty evident. So I figured the first question I'd ask you.
Yeah.
What political party has the best extremist in your opinion? Who's the most fun?
The most fun?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I mean, you...
No, I'm kidding about that.
I got to love the Greens. I mean, they're pretty radical in their own way.
Okay, yeah. I mean,
save the animals and release them from the labs.
I kind of want to understand your idea from a larger perspective. What is the purpose of government?
So, yeah, my view on government, because my background is I grew up actually leaning rightward. In high school, I took a political test that the results were that I was a moderate libertarian conservative. And so it's like, okay, that's where I am in 11th grade, civics class. I enter college, I go to U of M, I enter the business school. And while I'm there at business school, I'm learning the things that they're teaching to future business leaders. And so often the different scenarios they're presenting to us, it's about, okay, how to make decisions that are in the best interest of the business, which makes sense. We're business leaders. That's our fiduciary duty. That's what we're being taught to do. But it begins to dawn on me, okay, businesses are out there doing what's in their best interest, even in instances where it's runs counter to the best interest of the public. So it's like, okay, who's out there protecting the public's interest? To me, that's where government should step in and be that entity that is trying to make sure, okay, capitalism is the right economic system, but capitalism is, individual companies acting self-interested, but then you need it to be regulated by the government in order to make sure that externalities are not passed on to the public and that businesses play by a fair set of rules and a level playing field. To me, economically, that's really the proper role for government, is to just be that entity that's out there fighting for the public's interest, and trying to make sure that for businesses, the large and the small have a level playing field, and there's not an abuse of power once it's accumulated, basically.
I like that, and I've heard some other people describe it as this two-party system that you have. A lot of people hate it, that you only have two choices, but it's because they don't feel like they fit in either one. And it sounds like when you grew up, you kind of were in one, and now you're in another.
Yeah.
I like the idea of a two-party system, and this is not my idea. I just like it, that you need to have balance, and the two of them kind of rub together and form the best solution for everyone. You can't have one side or the other take over for too long, or else it becomes lopsided and falls apart.
Oh, yeah.
So I do like that idea, and that's why I think I've enjoyed our conversations, where it's the idea, the concept is what is the right thing instead of who is right.
Yeah.
Right now, campaign season, right?
Yeah.
It seems as though there are people that are walking around that are saying zingers, and then everyone's waiting around anxiously so they can cheer on their own candidate for whatever slam dunk they've had on the other side. I don't think that's as productive.
It's the turning politics into sports and just teams and the tribalism of it all. I mean, full disclosure, while I was at U of M, I had no school spirit. That's not, I'm not that type of person. I watch a Ohio State game. I'm not rooting against Ohio State when they're playing Purdue or somebody. I don't really care.
I am. But, okay.
That's not in me to have that. Okay, U of M's my team, therefore I have to hate Ohio State. No. I mean, yeah, when U of M versus Ohio State's playing, I'm rooting for U of M. But otherwise, good for you, Ohio State if they're out there winning other games. And so our politics, though, have really evolved into that, or devolved into just, okay, if you're for this side, then you must hate the other side. And my whole stump speech has been focused on how, in my view, my prescription, or just my diagnosis, is that the media, it's how they're set up to make money is by pushing fear, anger, and hatred of the other side. Whatever side it is, they're pushing those emotions towards the other side. And then that's how they captivate an audience, and that's how they get clicks, and that's how they make money. And it's why we continue to become further divided and more polarized. And so my entire campaign has just been about, I'm not going to focus on fear, anger, and hatred. I want to understand the other side. I want to see them. I don't want them to view me as evil. I'm not going to view them as evil. I want to understand them, and I hope that they have some curiosity in wanting to understand me. And yeah, We may disagree in the end, but at least if we understand each other, you don't have that hatred. You don't have that, it's us versus them. It's okay. We have different ideas. Whatever side wins out, that's okay. That's a peaceful outcome. Even if I'm in the minority, I can accept that because I understand then.
We need to talk. That's on your signs.
Yes, it is.
It seems as though you already answered one of the questions that I had.
Okay.
Thought of, obviously not written down. Why that on your sign, and what does it mean?
It's really just about how when I go into social media, and I've been active on Facebook for years as a Facebook commenter, but my style has always been one of not trying to score those points of, give that, zinger or do that personal attack that, gets likes and reactions from my side and my team, but really is just further denigrating the conversation into those personal attacks and further dividing. I've always been one that tries to ask questions, bring up rational points, and accept when others, the other side wants to scrutinize me. I think that is a healthy conversation, but if you go in social media, it's well known. It's a toxic place of, a cesspool of, no, don't read the comments is a thing because it brings out, and so it's so common for it to bring out the worst in our human nature of just vilifying and attacking the other side. And it's like, okay, I think a lot of it is because that's what social media is designed to do. So let's talk. We need to talk like real people, like we did before social media. Let's get out from behind our computers. Let's engage in a sit-down conversation like we're doing right now. And I've been able to do with my libertarian opponent. I've been able to do with others just in the district who disagree with me. And it's just a healthier way to engage because then when you see the person, you're not behind a screen, but you actually see the person you're talking to. Even when you disagree, you're much less likely to vilify them. And that's what I think is, before we can solve anything else, we have to end that vilification of the other side if we then want to try to find solutions to our problems that we face.
What problems do we face? And let's tackle this from at first bipartisan, maybe partisan afterwards.
Yeah.
See where the conversation goes. And one of the things you said before we started, and I did write down because I thought it was great, was you said that we need to look at what our problems are, and in 20 years from now, what solutions do we have? Now let's talk about how we get there.
Yes.
Where are we, and what are our goals?
Yes. So
bipartisan problems. Let's name a few of them.
Yes. So economics. I was born 1985. I assume you were born similar decade. And
84.
84. Okay. Now, as long as we've been alive, our economic system or our economic outcome has seen a shrinking middle class and a growing wealth gap. Would you accept that?
You're on a roll.
Okay.
I'm not going to argue against that right now.
Okay.
I think the one thing I will say is generally everyone is moving up.
Yes.
From the bottom to the
Yes.
top.
Yes,
but
the bottom right now
yes.
is still better off than the bottom back when we were born.
I think everyone's
there's a
going
growing
up, but
gap.
you are seeing the top part go
Yes.
faster. Yes, I agree with that.
And I would attribute that at least in part as a consequence to the tax code and just the system in place that we have. That is the outcome designed because to me in the 80s we adopted trickle down economics and just a different government mindset basically of decreasing the tax burden off of the wealthy and shifting it onto everybody else. So now I get to more into the weeds of why I believe we've seen the shrinking middle class. And 20 years from now, I would like to see a healthy, vibrant middle class. I would like to see the policies, and in order to get there, I want to, support the policies that would work to achieve that end of regrowing the middle class. So that way, in 2042, it's not such a divided economic stratosphere. It is similar to what we had in the 60s when there was, even just single household incomes being able to support a family of four. Now, that's the ideal 20 years out. How do we get there? That's where then I have my vision of what I think policy-wise we could implement to move us towards that. I don't actually know what the other side, what their policies are that would be designed to achieve that end.
How do you achieve that in the position of representative?
Yeah. So, I mean, the levers that we have in Lansing, if I were elected and I'm a state senator, and what the bills I'm able to propose that have an impact on that outcome, mostly deal with tax policy and tax burden. And since in general we have seen, it's mostly from the national level, the tax burden shifted off the wealthy, but even at the state level, pretty much every single change we've seen, at least as long as I've been paying attention since 2008. Okay, for instance, they increased the gas tax in 2017. Along with it, they cut the sales tax. So for somebody who's just, middle income or working class, yeah, they're paying more at the pump in the increase in the gas tax. And yeah, they're seeing a slight savings in the income tax, but their increased tax bill at the pump is more than what they're saving. But for somebody who's making $1 million a year, their savings in the income tax far outweigh and exceed the extra they're paying at the pump. So that was just, that's just one example of how, when changes have occurred over these last couple decades in Lansing, it's been designed to shift the tax burden off of the wealthiest and onto everyone else. And I just think, why not shift it back? What was so wrong with having those who can best afford it carry more of the tax burden in order to give better opportunity to working families and allow the middle class to have a little bit more comfort and feel as though they're not on the precipice of falling down the economic ladder. I think, shifting the tax burden off of them and back towards the upper end will still be fine. And then, 20 years from now, we'll see things be slightly better. At least it would move things in that right direction that I would like to see. It wouldn't solve the problem on its own, but it's one component of it.